What's up, guys? Lisa here of Borderlands Bakery, and today I'm here with Baked by Dave from Chicago, and we're going to be talking about Dave's royal icing calculator that he uses. And I'm going to hand it over to Dave. Dave, give us a little intro of who you are, what the purpose of this calculator is, and then just show us how to use it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave. I have been decorating cookies since last year in 2020. And I created this royal icing calculator at the end of 2020 during Christmas pre-sales. It was my very first large order, I guess you could say. And I was trying to think of ways to minimize the amount of work that I had to do to be able to get through the holiday season with the least amount of stress as possible. And so it started as a very basic thing that I was just using, on the side to get me through it. And after I got through it, I realized that this was probably a tool that other cookiers would really be able to use for their own business needs. And so after the new year, it was my New Year's resolution to work on it right away. And I created this royal icing calculator that you see today.
Sweet. Let's get into it.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen to kind of go through on a high level.
If you guys want to download this, we've linked it for you down below. It's going to be embedded in our blog post where we kind of highlight who Dave is and talk a little bit about Dave. So the download link will be in there. Check the description box below.
All right, so here's the royal icing calculator. So I have different tabs on here. The first tab is obviously the instructions. It kind of goes through everything that you need to enter in to be able to get the result that you're looking for. So we have instructions here, and just to kind of high level overview of what's going on. You have your royal icing calculator tab, which is the tab that's going to show you how much royal icing you need for every color that you're going to be working with. You have an order summary tab, which breaks it out into pre-sales, and it also breaks it out into custom orders. Depending on what your need is, the calculator will calculate it, and I will talk about what the difference is when I kind of go through it and how you would use each one. And then here in the different colored tabs are just your different options that you would have from a pre-sale perspective, or if you're working on custom orders for the week, this would be what you would use for each of your orders that you're preparing for the week. Okay, so if we're taking a look at this, the way I guess the easiest thing would just to walk through it as if I were to get ready for a pre-sale or a custom order week. The first thing is for pre-sales, you've probably already done your samples and you've probably figured out what cutters you're going to use, what colors you're going to use. And so even before your pre-sales go live, you can go into this and start filling it out like right off of the bat. And so I have 8 options available here. So if you have 4 options for Halloween, you're going to go through each one of these and you're going to fill them out as much as possible. So you have here your cutter name. I go through it and I type out each of the cutters that I'm going to be using. And then I have all the colors that I'm going to use. So you can literally it doesn't matter what order it is. You just go through all of these and you type in all of your colors that you're going to use. And then here's the info. So this is all data entry, basically. What you're going to need to kind of put your thinking cap on is how much flood you're going to estimate for each cutter for each color. And so if I'm going through option 1 and I have a heart and I have a circle and I have the color black and I have the color white, the heart, I'm going to estimate a 0.5 ounce for black, and for a circle, I'm going to estimate a 0.5 for the color white. And that's it. And that's how much you would estimate it for. So if you have multiple colors, and let's say you have 2 colors on your flood. So I have blue, and it's like a half and half type of deal. I'll put 0.25, oops, and then I'll go here and I'll put 0.25. And then, like I said, up here, it says a flood estimate per cookie. If you need an estimate for a 3.5 to 4 inch cookie, 0.5 ounce or 14 grams. Some people have asked it for grams. That's kind of the equivalent. I'm not sure, like some people might use ounces, some people might use grams. So I'm going to do that for every single one of my options. So it's just cutter, color, and then your flood estimate. Once you've filled all of this information out, now you're going to go to your order summary. If we're working,
quick.
Yep.
So if we're, for example, if we look at the options are really just a way to kind of separate out and help you organize all the different options you're offering. So if you're doing this for a custom, for example, do you just fill out one option?
No,
or
option and custom will work hand in hand. It'll be,
okay.
It's basically the same thing.
Okay.
So you're going to fill it out. Let's say I have four orders for the week. Let's say I'm prepping on the weekend and I have 4 orders. These are you're going to use option 1, 2, 3, 4 to put in all of your information. And the key difference, and before I go on, the key difference between a pre-sale and a custom is a pre-sale assumes that each option has the exact same number of cookies, right? So I sell five orders of option 1 and there's 2 cookies. Every single one of those orders are going to get 2 cookies.
Right.
For a custom order, you might have 5 cutters, but you might have 2 cookies for this cutter, 5 cookies for that cutter.
Yeah.
And so this order summary tab will allow you to manually assign the number of cookies for each of the cutters. And so that was like the first version that I released was only for pre-sales. And as soon as I released it, I realized, I'm like, well, what if people are using this for custom orders? Then they're limited to the exact same number for every single one of those cookies. And so that's how I came to the custom section.
I love it. Perfect.
Yeah. And so if I go through all of these options and I fill out all of my custom orders for the week, then let me just go through 2 options just so we can visually see it when we go to the different tabs. Let's say I have a Nancy Black. Let's say I have a Happy Birthday Black. Let's say this is pink, red, 0.5, and then 0.6. Let's just say that. Okay, so these 2 options for the week. If I go to the order summary tab now, this is where you're going to enter in the number. Like if you're doing pre-sales, up here, order type, you choose pre-sales. And what this is going to do is once your sales go live, you will be able to update the number of orders that you've sold for each of the options. And so, you know, I sold 5 orders for option 1 and I've sold 10 orders for option 2. And so the calculator will calculate the royal icing based on the number of orders. If we want to look at the royal icing calculator, it has already calculated everything that you need for these 2 options for each cutter based on the number of orders that you sold. Okay. And so that in a nutshell is how the pre-sales work. Now, if these are actual custom orders for the week, well, we need to assign how many cookies each of these cutters are going to be assigned. So if I scroll down, now these cutters have auto-populated into these different option tabs. Here it has heart and a circle. How many cookies? I have 7, and then what? 4. Say that. Oh, let's say 5, a dozen, and then yeah.
Hey, that could get a lot.
That's right. and then here 4, and then 8. So now I have an uneven amount of cookies for each of the cutters, and the Royal Icing calculator is going to calculate it based on the number that you've assigned. So if for the customs, if I have a heart and a circle, 7 and 5. If I go to this options 1 tab, you'll see a 7 and 5 populate here.
Nice.
Just
Okay.
just for logistical purposes, because all of the formulas are kind of listed in here. And mind you, any field that you're not supposed to touch will not let you touch it.
All right. I was just going to ask that. I was like,
Yeah.
I hope you locked everything that you can't
Yeah. So
modify.
the only thing that you're able to touch are the actual variable information. So the cutters, the colors, and the flood estimates. And then on the order summary tab, like the number of cookies and the number of items sold for pre-sales. And that's all you can touch.
I always tell people that organization is key, and knowing how much work you do is also key. If you're running a business and you don't know how to adequately prep for your week, this is huge in getting you ready in how much you actually, how much powdered sugar to buy, how much, all of that stuff to buy. So that this is widely useful. Today, when you use it, do you save a copy for like every work week or something like that?
Yes, I absolutely do. As soon as, Halloween is going on right now, as soon as I did my samples, I save a copy, Royal Icing calculator _ Halloween 2021.
Perfect.
And then I'll go through all of my options, like all of this stuff you already have for you when you make your options, because you know how much, what colors you're using, what cutters you're using, and then you just how much, like, assign it, a flood assignment for each of those cutters. And then when your pre-sales go live, all you have to do is enter in the number of items that you sold for each of the options, and boom, you're done. That's it.
Wait, yeah, super, super easy.
Yeah.
Actually.
So it's the prep work up front, in my opinion, is so worth all of the time that you're going to save after that.
Especially because we're not asking you to like weigh cookies or anything. You've already given them an estimate, right, of the flood. So what you have to consider if you're going to be using this is if you're doing like details or anything like that, making sure that if you have multiple layers, you account for every bit of the cookie.
Yeah, it actually, so, this is for flood specifically. People should also realize that, outline floral, that also needs to be taken into account. But flood is obviously the biggest thing for people, right? You need a lot of it, know. So for a detail consistency, you probably only need a 0.5 to 1 ounce of Royal Icing.
For like a dozen, right?
Right, exactly. But it's going to vary very vastly with flood.
Design.
And a lot of people end up running out, or they just have too much. And it's like, what do I do with it? Like, you could freeze it and use it, but are you gonna use when are you gonna next time you're gonna use those colors again?
Yeah, or like you end up with all these colors and you're like, well, now I have a gallon of black.
Yeah,
what do I do? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And so that was kind of the intention behind creating that and the logistics of it.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
And that's it, right? Like that's as
that's it.
Simple as it is.
Honestly, it's, going through the options, filling it out, and then, assigning the cutters, the amount of cookies for your custom orders, or the number that you sold for each of your orders in your pre-sales. And then everything is outlined for you here.
Awesome. Right here. Cool. If you guys found that helpful, definitely like interact with this video. I hate asking for that. Thumbs up, engage, comments, whatever. Any questions, drop them below. We also have this video embedded in the in the blog post where I'm linking you guys to all of Dave's socials, so that if you have any questions, or, if you're watching this and you want Dave to make you some cookies, you can bug him directly. And if you just want to say a thank you to Dave, I'm sure that means the world to him, right? Because he's just doing this from out of the love in his heart, really.
Yeah.
So
My little contribution to the cookie community, hopefully. So even if there's just a few people out there that use it, that makes my day.
we love that. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
All right. Okay, that was that. Dude, that was great. That was like super easy. You explained it really well.
I mean, yeah, I was ultimately, I was just trying to think the least amount of keystrokes, like.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so if you just enter in that, the grid is it's pretty basic. I wanted to make it as less intimidating as possible.
Yes.
And so I think keeping the options on each tab, like from an organization standpoint, people like to see clean, they just like to see things pretty.
Yes.
And so I hope that they find it easy to navigate through.
I think so. What's the feedback that you've gotten so far?
I've gotten good feedback, actually. There's been a few that have asked questions that I can't necessarily, based on the way the formulas are set up and the logic, I can't necessarily change, but I gave them workarounds.
Okay.
Overall, there's people who swear by it. They, when I released the custom, the second version with the customs, there were so many people that were like, "Oh my God, thank you for the customs," because they were having to kind of do workarounds because pre-sales are, it's a different logic. And so when I released the customs, a lot of people were really thankful for that because, I personally don't do customs. I only do one custom a week. So that whole part, I wouldn't put, I wouldn't use it. So it's mainly for other people who have to organize their week if they do it that way.
That's awesome. So we're on behalf of the cookie community.
You're welcome.
Big deal.